Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Shaun Holko, alongside my guys, Mr. Jaevon and Mr. Kevin Dent, back for another episode number 148. We're two away from 150, guys. It's crazy how time flies. Mr. Jaevon, how we doing this week?
I'm doing all right. Feeling all right. Feeling good. Kev was commenting on how I just been on time these past couple of weeks, and just gotta be consistent. So we're here. I'm another week, another episode, as Shaun always says. Shaun is a little tanner, if you haven't noticed.
You stole my fucking line, Ty. I was waiting for it.
You might want to harp on that, but Shaun was kind of big timed us a little bit in the group chat, just out of nowhere, and we were just wiping the crust out my eyes, and I'm seeing Shaun. He's taking a picture, pieced up with his old lady, and I was like, "Where are you going?" So, go ahead, Shaun. I'll let you kind of elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so
before you pass it to Shaun, make sure you mention where you sat on the plane and who you sat next to in the front of the plane. I'm surprised they didn't have you fly the plane. So make sure you throw that in there as well.
In the cockpit.
Yeah, I'll get to all that in a moment. But let's just leave the listeners on a cliffhanger for about 30 more seconds. Kevin, how are we doing this week?
I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. There's been a lot of the SOP fantasy chat has been booming this series. Game 1, it was what the hally. Everyone was crazy. Game 2, it kind of got quiet. But game 3, ladies and gentlemen, the group chat erupted. They were saying
I was financially tied to the Pacers, so that's why. The chat might have been.
Emmanuel Scott Anderson, aka Manny, a fan of the pod who's been on a couple of times, says Shea is just not that guy. Tyrese Halliburton is that guy. We were like, hey guys, let's take a chill pill. My man had 2 points in clutch time, and I know clutch time is going to be a phrase that I bring up a lot today because the guy, the man who hosts this show, brought that up last time in the video, so I'm just going to make sure that I bring those stats. But I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. One more game of the NBA season, and then it becomes the dog days, unless we start covering baseball. So the next couple episodes are going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. Breaking down some football, hopefully getting our guy Kaz back in the building. But besides that, the sun is shining, and I can't complain.
Baseball or the WNBA. But yes,
we kind of do cover the W, so
yeah, a little bit here and there. We sprinkle, as Jaevon would like to say. But the thing about what you just said, Kevin, is for the audio only listeners, this is why you got to tune in on YouTube and Twitch. Instagram temporarily isn't working right now. Still trying to figure out those technical difficulties. However, when Kevin was just saying what he did, I was looking around because I was searching for answers. Right now, for the Indiana Pacers, those answers seem to be an athletic trainer. But before we get to that, we get into the NBA Finals, I wanted to talk about what Jaevon was alluding to, because I texted Jaevon on Thursday morning at about 6 a.m. or so, and I sent him a photo of my girlfriend Allie and I sitting at the airport. And the reason why I did that wasn't to flex or anything, but it was to thank Jaevon, because Jaevon gave me a $25 gift card. He and Sophia gave me a $25 gift card to Starbucks for my birthday, and I really appreciated that. I'm a coffee drinker, but I don't really frequent Starbucks or Dutch Bros too much. But when you got $25 to spend, I was like, all right, let me figure it out. And so I basically spent that whole $25 gift card at the Sacramento airport on Thursday morning. And Jaevon saw probably the gate that was behind Allie and I, and that's what gave him the context clues to say, where are you going? We were on our way to Mexico. It was the first time that I have gone out of the United States in my life. My girlfriend Allie is Miss International Traveler. She's been all over the place, but I did not have a passport up until about a month ago. And so we go on this trip to Mexico, Cabo San Lucas to be precise. And it was an awesome trip, all-inclusive resort. Wasn't very expensive, believe it or not. And so it was
big baller, huh?
Well, in all honesty, like it for the two of us, 4 days, it costs $800 total. Like for all inclusive at a beautiful resort on the beach with like a view that's like a postcard. That's a damn good price.
And that's why he sat in the front of the plane. That's where all the money went.
Oh no. See, I wasn't even sitting in the front of the plane. But what Kevin is alluding to is I ended up seeing someone pretty prominent on my flight to and my flight from Cabo as I came home yesterday, and this person was not only on my flight to Cabo, but he was also on my flight home from Cabo yesterday. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And this person is none other than Sacramento Kings guard Keon Ellis, who could not have been nicer to me. And as the YouTube and Twitch audience might have seen from the photo I just displayed on the screen, you see me and Keon on the airplane. I'm holding my Starbucks coffee. Shout out to Jaevon for that. And you see the flight attendant behind me. The flight attendant, right after I walked up to Keon, because basically it kind of worked out perfect where, like, when I was lined up to board the plane, I was like,
first class, number A1.
No. Southwest flight. I was like B30 something. So I was right in the middle of the boarding process. But as I went to go line up, I looked over to my left, like probably 50 feet away. And I'm like, he looks familiar. And then he turns his head. I'm like, oh shit, that's Keon Ellis. Like I noticed the braids where he had like the brown and yellow braids. And I was like, oh, that's Keon Ellis. That's pretty cool. And I texted Allie and I was like, hey, there's a Sacramento Kings player on our flight. And she's like, no way, where is he? And I'm like, he's right there, like A5 or whatever, because Keon, even though he was flying Southwest, and I respect him so much more for that, because wasting money on a PJ ain't the move. And so he was in the priority boarding of A1 through 15. And Allie kept telling me, like, go up to him, ask him for a picture, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, I'm just trying to respect his space. I didn't want to bother him. And what I've noticed in the past is if you're in a big like group area, if one person sees another person go up to someone and say, hey, can I have a photo? Then everyone else is like looking and they're like, who's that? And then you have people who don't even know who he is flocking to him like, hey, can I get a photo? Because that guy just asked for a photo. So you must be someone important. And so I just wanted to respect his personal space and I didn't ask him for a photo. He boards the plane way before me. And by the time I end up boarding the plane, he's walking through the aisle. He might have had to use the bathroom when he first got on the plane.
We asked you for a photo.
No. Stats over politics isn't that big yet. But he was walking through the aisle, and I see him, and I'm like, well, this is a perfect opportunity. Like, we're coming face to face. And so, like, I just walked straight up to him, and I was like, hey, Keon, do you mind if I get a selfie with you? And he's like, oh, yeah, no problem, man. And so then we end up taking this selfie. It was very nice. I appreciated him. And the reason why I mentioned the flight attendant is after I sat down, I took the selfie with Keon. I sat down, and then she sits down next to me, and she was like, okay, so I'm really old, and so bear with me, but who is that? And I was like, oh, that's Keon Ellis. He plays for the Sacramento Kings. And she's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. She was like, I know football, but I don't really know basketball that well. And I was like, yeah, well, that's Keon Ellis. He plays for the Kings. And so she was like, oh, that's really cool. Thanks. And that was it. And then we end up flying to Cabo. We all end up standing around for like an hour just waiting for our bags once we got through customs and all that. That was my first experience with that. The biggest takeaway for me with going through customs is that they now have all these electronic scanners for your passport. And I was quite disappointed because I have this brand new passport. I wanted a stamp that said, you've been to Mexico.
They don't stamp
and
it
I
anymore?
missed out. Nah, well, at least for me, like Allie ended up having to go to a real person because she was wearing glasses and her photo, she's had a passport for like 8 years. So her photo was from when she was a teenager. She's wearing glasses. And so she had to go up to an actual person and they gave her a stamp. But me with the brand new passport, I couldn't get a damn stamp. And I was quite disappointed about that.
That's the best part how a stamp store, a passport is looking at the stamps.
Shaun
Exactly. Because yeah, basically the invisible e-stamp. And then we ended up having a great 4.5 days in Cabo. It was awesome. Come home yesterday, and when we're at the airport in Mexico, I turned to my left as Allie and I are eating something before getting on our flight. And by the way, I went to a Subway in the Mexico airport for a sandwich and a bottle of water. It cost me $30. But in pesos, it was like 560 pesos. And I ended up doing the conversion rate. It was $30. Absolutely insane. Yeah. And so anyways, as we're eating, I turn to my right and I say to Allie, I'm like, oh, looks like Keon's on our flight back too. And she's like, oh, no way. And I didn't talk to him. I didn't ask him for a photo again because I didn't want to bother him. But I ended up sitting right in front of him and his lady on our flight back from Cabo, which I actually thought was pretty funny. But I didn't want to bother him or anything. And so, yeah, that's basically it. Had a great trip. I came back much tanner. And, yeah, that was my last week. And I hope it was entertaining for you guys because it sure was. Oh, excuse me. My dinner is making me belch. But anyways, it was a great trip. Shout out to my lady for that because she planned it all. It wouldn't have been possible without her. And so I appreciate her very much. And before we get to talking about the NBA Finals, I wanted to highlight a YouTube comment, Jaevon, as guest panelist on the show. Alex Dent says, sorry I can't make it, but let's get it. As Alex is currently on a work trip, we appreciate you for tuning in, Alex. And so now. Right now she's in Cabo. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it, guys. As the Thunder lead the Pacers 3-2 in the NBA Finals. And when we last left off last week, the series was tied 1-1. Tyrese Halliburton hit the game winner in game 1. And then the Pacers proceeded to win game 3 on their home floor. And I was feeling quite good about that as the Pacers won 116-107. Thunder come back in game 4 and they beat the Pacers 111-104. And when you hear the final score, it's like, okay, you think that Oklahoma City controlled the game. No, they did not. They were trailing by 7 points going into the fourth quarter, outscore the Pacers 31-17 in that fourth quarter, and they go on to win by 7 after trailing by 7 entering the fourth quarter. Oklahoma City Thunder, their season, for all intents and purposes, was on the line in that game 4. If you go, yeah, you could go back home trailing 3-1, you defend home court. But if you go back to Indiana trailing 3-2 after losing both games in Indiana, it was going to look grim. And with that comeback, OKC totally flipped the script on the Pacers. And yesterday, being Monday night, the Thunder ended up winning 120-109, and they controlled that game. Because of TJ McConnell, the Pacers were able to make a little bit of a run in the second half, primarily in the third quarter. If I remember off the top of my head, TJ McConnell had 18 points in that third quarter yesterday, and so he went nuts. And you may be asking yourself, why did TJ McConnell end up having such a big game? It was because Tyrese Halliburton did not. Tyrese Halliburton, 0 from the field. I believe it was 0 of 6, 0 of 5 in the first half. And for those of you like Kevin who want to hate on Tyrese Halliburton, you may say, oh, he choked, he's bad. Well, the news came out during the game from Shams Charania of ESPN, and then it was confirmed at halftime that Tyrese was dealing with a strained right calf, and he is now being reevaluated. He was saying in the post-game presser that he plans to play in Game 6, but the biggest question is it even worth it for him to play in Game 6? If TJ McConnell is playing so well, Tyrese is out there basically just being a facilitator, can't hit a shot. They don't have to play the same defense on him because they know he's not going to drive into the cup. And so there's lots of questions circulating as we go into Game 6. The title of today's episode is The Thunder Are on the Brink of Their First Title, and it's because they're up 3-2 going into Game 6. The Pacers, Kevin might say otherwise, but arguably the Pacers' best player is injured. And so
Pascal got hurt.
And I knew, and that's why I prefaced what I was saying with that, because I knew that was coming. But anyways, the Thunder are on the brink of winning their first championship in franchise history. Obviously, they won one as the Seattle Supersonics in 1979, but the Oklahoma City Thunder never have, and they have a chance to close it out in Game 6. So, Kevin, I'll give you the floor because I know that you have just been waiting to roast me, roast anyone who has been rooting on the Pacers, and I'm going to take whatever you say with a grain of salt because the Pacers' best player is legitimately injured. But, Kevin, you have the floor. Let us hear it.
I'm looking it up right now. I don't see anything about Pascal Siakam being hurt. You keep mentioning that the best player is hurt. Anyways, moving forward. You know what? You want to sit here and blame the injury? Shaun, he was 0 for 4 before the injury.
He got injured like 4 minutes into the game. He shot 4 shots in the first 4 minutes.
He got hurt in the second quarter.
No, he got hurt like 4 minutes into the game when he crashed down to the floor. He was driving in the cup. He crashed down to the floor.
Maybe my time. Maybe I looked at it wrong, but it looked
because he went to the locker room. He went to the locker room in the second quarter, but that was after he was already sitting.
Okay, well, it was late in the first. It wasn't 4 minutes in.
I'll fact check that while we hear from you.
What I'm saying is
during the game,
Shaun said Tyrese Halliburton was on this generational run. Clutch basket after clutch basket. He said, Kevin, look at De'Aaron Fox. Look at Jalen Brunson. Now you got to talk about Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton is averaging 4 more points than TJ McConnell this series. Besides game 3, it's not crazy to say that TJ McConnell's been the better player. And I get it. You know, he hit the shot. Woohoo. You know, he's all nice and good. Game 1. He's been outplayed by SGA, and it's not bad to say that he's been outplayed by SGA. SGA is the MVP for a reason. He was the Western Conference Finals player for a reason, all NBA, all that good stuff. Tyrese Halliburton has just been hit or miss. There were 2 guys on this podcast that said he was a top 3 player in this series. He hasn't even been a top 3 player statistically on his team in this series. But that was, that's neither here nor there. We're going to let you guys live on that. Toddy said he was the second best player. Shaun said he was the second best player. And that's crazy because, J-Dub dropped 40. Pascal Siakam's been 20 ball. And then there's SGA. So there's only 2 spots to really talk about. But while we're talking about SGA, Shaun mentioned clutch stats. So game 4, final 5 minutes of a 5-point game. Tyrese Halliburton, 2 points, 1 for 2, air ball. Game 5, I know everybody knows Tony Snell because he's infamous. 28 minutes, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Well, now he's been beat. There's now Tyrese Halliburton. And this sucks. This is on the end of his generational run. He hit all these game winners, and only thing he's going to be remembered for is the 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. He is the first player in NBA history to play 30-plus minutes and not make a field goal. To have 3 in the finals. To have 3 turnovers, 0 rebounds, 0 blocks, 0 points, and play 30-plus minutes. So you know what? Add that to his resume because that's Tyrese Halliburton. This has to be one of the worst debuts of a sneaker of all time. He works.
It's got to be the shoes.
It got to be the shoes. Put them motherfuckers back in the trash. Put them other Pumas on when you was playing against the Knicks. Them were the Pumas you should have played in the finals because this is a horrible debut. Horrible debut. But let's talk about SGA. In clutch time in game 4, 14 points. He scored 14 out of the last 15 points for the Thunder. He has the most fourth quarter clutch time points in NBA history in the finals. This list is legit. So it's SGA, 2006, game 5, D Wade had 11 in the fourth. 2021, Chris Middleton had 10. 2007, Manu had 10. 2005, Robert Horry had 10, game 5. And then in game 2, Shaq had 10 in 2000. So let's get to game 5. When the All-NBA list came out, Toddy said, Jalen Williams, he made the list? And I said, what do you mean Jalen Williams like that? Why are you disrespecting him? He said, what did he do? And then I said, All-NBA, All-Star, All-Defensive team. And Toddy goes,
that tone of voice is crazy that he's using for you, Toddy.
You got me, Kev. You got me. And then, what does he do? Game 4, they said, someone else has to beat us besides SGA. Or game 3. And they lost. So game 4, they said, J-Dub, you're the point guard. The ball's in your hand. You going to help us. SGA take over in the fourth. Jalen Williams in game 5 went for 40-plus points and 4 assists. He joins an elite group of company of guys to put up 3 straight 25-point games in the NBA Finals before turning 25 years old. 1995, Shaquille O'Neal. 2006, Dwayne Wade. 2012, KD. And 2016, Kyrie Irving. He is the 3rd youngest player since 1980 to score 40-plus. This list. 1980, Magic Johnson. 2012, Russell Westbrook. And now Jalen Williams.
Yep.
This is looking like one of the next season. I'm letting you guys know we'll be doing a this or that duo edition. SGA and J-Dub. And I don't know how many we're taking over them because this run that they're going on is insane. Literally insane. I have stats on stats on stats, but the last thing I'm going to say is the Pacers got bitched in this game. 27 blocks and steals in combination. 7 different players had a steal, and 7 different players had a block. This game, and Shaun will say it, role players play better at home. We saw what Ben Mathurin scoring 27. We saw what Isaiah Wiggins in game 2 hitting 20 points. The role players play better at home. So it was nice to see that these role players for OKC stepped up and did the same thing that the Indiana Pacers role players were doing. But bottom line, the Thunder came out here and put belt to ass. Gary, I'm sorry I had to do it to you. You said Game 7's coming. That's like saying the Sacramento Kings are winning the championship next year. This shit's over in 6.
All right. Well, Jaevon, after all that was said, what are your thoughts?
I thought yesterday was the typical OKC game. Pretty much how all their home games start. They usually get out, start fast, get to an early lead. I think the most they led was by 18 points at one point in time. Pacers start coming back. Halliburton goes down with the injury. Wasn't really doing anything before his injury occurred. But TJ McConnell was already playing really well. So they kind of just rode that wave. I thought Andrew Nembhard played really bad in this game, who's been pretty good. Throughout the series, but was just a little inconsistent for this game. I thought Halliburton trying to come back and play hurt his team more than helped because down the stretch the game was close. It was like a 6-point game in the fourth quarter, and
they
then
got within 2 with 8 minutes left. Yeah,
it was. Oh yeah, I got within 2 within like 8 minutes left. Then they just start turning the ball over. Nembhard turnover, Halliburton turnover. Like it just erupted with a bunch of turnovers, and you saw J-Dub start to get going. And this game, I wouldn't say it was the magnitude of it, but it kind of reminded me of when it's a little bit different. But no, I'm not even going to say that. That was way their way. I was going to say it was the Kyrie LeBron game.
I knew,
but it wasn't like that because they were down. They were down, and they both went for 40. I think they were down. Were they down
3-2?
They were down 3-2, and then they came back. That was a historic game, but it just kind of reminded me of that because J-Dub and Shea both almost went 40, but obviously that didn't turn out the way that it did. But this was kind of like a come to Jesus moment with Jalen Williams. He's been a guy that I've been a little bit on the fence of. Just on him can he be a consistent number 2? And that was something that I was saying in that Denver series when they would lose these games close and be like, hey, Jalen Williams, you're supposed to be the guy, this, that, and the third you're going up against. I get it. Nikola Jokic was arguably the best player in the league. They need you to step up. And it was really only Jokic that they needed to stop. And I just thought Denver had, I think the reason why it went 7 games, which is, if you look back, it's insane that Denver, literally Jokic took them 7 games because this OKC team is just outclassing pretty much everybody else they play against because they're just so deep. I think that when you get a guy in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who's going to get you 25 plus almost every night, and you have a guy in Jalen Williams, all NBA guy, all-star, he can relieve some of that pressure off of you, but he's just been so inconsistent throughout the playoffs. You don't know if he's going to give you. I'd say in this series, he's been a little bit more consistent, but overall throughout the playoffs, he's been a little bit up and down. But as far as this finals goes, I would say Jalen Williams has been one of the most consistent players, not named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. A lot of people like to talk about Chet Holmgren. Chet, offensively, they don't need him to be the number 1 option. Obviously, they have Shea, the MVP for that, and they have a guy in Jalen Williams. But he's been able to affect the game in other ways, like at the rim, him being able to alter a bunch of shots, not really him necessarily getting blocks, getting steals, but he's creating contested layups, which is it's not something you'll see on the stat sheet. It'll be something that you have to actually watch the game and be like, all right, you can't just go to the rim on these guys. But you got like Kevin already mentioned Wiggins. He was knocking down 3 after 3 after 3. And we've said consistently on this podcast that your role players are going to play better at home. That's just what it is. Kevin already mentioned the 27-point game from Ben Mathurin earlier in the season or earlier in the series. But you got guys like Hartenstein getting in there. He's scoring. You got Wiggins in there. Cason Wallace getting fast break dunks. Caruso, who's had a 20-point game in this series. So, I mean, the Pacers are in a bit of a pickle because Halliburton said that he's going to he will most likely play in game 6, but how effective is he actually going to be? We saw TJ McConnell have the 18-point game. Who knows if he just would have just rode that way, if Carlisle would have just rode that wave of TJ McConnell. I'm not saying that they necessarily could have won, but I feel like they would have had a better chance because once Halliburton got out there, he didn't look like himself. He was a little bit hobbled, and it seemed like he was affecting the flow of the game with him being a little bit more of a ball stopper because with a healthy Tyrese Halliburton is able to control the flow of the offense. I feel like when the ball kind of got to him, the ball kind of stopped a little bit because he was a little bit hesitant in his movement because of his calf, obviously. So with that being said, how effective can Tyrese Halliburton be going forward? And right now it kind of seems like OKC is smelling blood in the water. Like, oh, like he's not really. Let's go at him. We're gonna get any and every switch we can. We get the J-Dub switch on him. Oh yeah, it's barbecue chicken, as Shaq would say.
Get your kid on the street.
Yeah. We want all the switches on Halliburton for him to get matched up on J-Dub, him to get matched up on Shea as much as possible. We want to test that calf out as much as possible. So I get it. He's hurt. This is the finals. We are in the month of June. We all know that this season starts in October. These guys have been playing for extended periods of time now, probably over 100 games now. And I do think that there's a lot of people who are dealing with something. Maybe not the severity of Tyrese Halliburton, but everybody's kind of dealing with something. It's kind of up to you to determine if you're going to play, you're going to have to figure out a way to be effective. Because if you're out there and you're just kind of going through the motions, not really doing anything, you're kind of hurting your team more than helping. And I get it. It's the finals. The Pacers haven't been here in 20 years. I get that. But at the same time, they're trying to win. And I get it. It's your best player on your team. Kevin will have other opinions on who the best player is, but it's kind of coming down to we need you to kind of you might have to sit this one out. You might need to sit this one out. So I want to see what it looks like coming game 6 because it's going to be important. And last thing is last week I did say we all asked what do you think the series is going to be by the time next time we record. I said it was going to be 3-2. OKC would be up 3-2 going to the Pacers. However, in my picks, got caught drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit after game, 4, when the Pacers ended up going up 2-1. Had the game in game 5, kind of gave up a little bit on the gas, could argue about the shot that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander hit, the step back, which was probably a push-off. Feel like that sparked their comeback in a sense. And they kind of just let that game slip away. That was the game that they had to have. And Indiana knows that because this would be a whole entirely different series. Them being up, which would probably be 3-2 now, going back to Indiana to maybe win this series. So a lot of little things that can happen in these particular games that can change or that can alter the entire series. And OKC is 1 win away from winning their first ever NBA championship.
Yeah, they being the Pacers, really fumbled their opportunity in game 4. just for full transparency, we were talking about my trip to Mexico earlier. I did not watch a second of Game 4, and it's because I was out of it on Friday when Game 4 happened. I'll leave it at that. The all-inclusive resort, it got to me. Got to Ali and I. We had a good old time on Friday, but I was dead and did not get to see the sunlight, the beverages. It all got to me on Friday, and so I didn't get a chance to see any of Game 4. And I ended up waking up at like 9 o'clock, and I just said, hey, do you know what the score of the game was? And she just asked Siri, and yeah, OKC wins 111-104. And I was like, God damn it. I knew that they were going to fumble the bag. Like I was optimistic. We said last week, Jaevon was talking about what we all predicted was going to be the finals score of games by the time that we came back. And I said 3-2 Pacers, winning both games at home, and they had an excellent opportunity to do it, and they dropped that opportunity. And so I think you guys covered it pretty well. I just want to get to some more stats, but before I do, Larry Bakes says in the YouTube comments, I picked Indians 7.
That's Uncle Larry.
Hey, shout out to Uncle Larry. Well, Uncle Larry, I picked the Pacers in 6, but now I have no other choice but then to pick the Pacers in 7. And so I hope that you're correct. I just want to get to some stats. We got Shaun's pop quiz coming up next, but there has been so many stats in the last week that I couldn't save it all for the pop quiz. Otherwise, the pop quiz segment would have been 30 minutes long. So I'm going to see, these were left on the cutting room floor of Shaun's pop quiz, but still worth mentioning. So TJ McConnell in Game 3 became the first bench player in NBA history with over 5 steals and 5 assists in a finals game. Ben Mathurin, he dropped the most points off the bench in an NBA finals game since Jason Terry in 2011. And you'll remember that Jason Terry was being coached by, as Jaevon shows off a jet for the audio-only listeners, Jason Terry was also coached by Rick Carlisle. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Alex Caruso, in Game 4, he dropped 20 points, and it was his second 20-point game of this series. And he became the first player in NBA history to have 2 20-point games in an NBA Finals after having 0 in the regular season. And so Alex Caruso, the Texas A&M alum, he came to play in these finals. And Kevin also mentioned earlier the category that Jalen Williams put himself in after Game 5 when he dropped 40 points. He has averaged over 25 points in these finals. Obviously, the finals haven't wrapped up yet. But when you look at Thunder players to average over 25 points per game in the finals, J-Dub joined 3 MVPs. And those 3 MVPs be Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Also, Jalen Williams has more 40-point finals games than Luka Doncic, Larry Bird, Kawhi Leonard, Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis, Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Scottie Pippen combined. Those 10 legends. He has more.
Jason Tatum legend. Let's pull it back.
Okay.
The 9 legends.
Anyways, regardless.
Hall of Famers.
Future Hall of Famers for the ones who haven't made it yet, and to Javon's point, the ones who are already there. And so Jalen Williams has accomplished something that those 10 players, we can give them their own individual distinction later on, but those 10 great players who, to my knowledge, yes, have all made all-star teams in their career, Jalen Williams has more 40-point games in the finals than all of them combined. And that's because, to my knowledge, off the top of my head, none of those guys have done it. Jalen Williams has now done it. And so one last thing that I wanted to mention in regard to these finals, and this, Kevin, you already named off one of the stats I was going to mention when Jalen Williams entered the conversation with Magic and Russ. The other stat that you might have seen on SportsCenter is you look at teammates with 30 points each in an NBA Finals game that are both age 26 or younger. Jalen Williams Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They did that Monday. Then you go back to 1995, before any of us were born. Shaquille O'Neal and Anthony Penny Hardaway did it for the Magic back in 1995. And then you go back to what the Thunder used to be called back in 1979 when the Seattle Supersonics had Gus Williams and Dennis Johnson do that. And those are the three duos to do it in the last 50 years. So SGA, J-Dub, they are entering themselves among the all-time greats when it comes to finals performances, and it deserves some kudos. I'm still rooting for the Pacers. I am blindly choosing them, but I'm still rocking with the Pacers, just like Uncle Larry. I'll take the Pacers in 7. And I did the math. I am now your winner, wire to wire, in the Stats Over Politics Pick'em. From the play-in to the final, I am your champion. And for that reason, I'm picking the Pacers in Game 6. And then I'm going to pick the Pacers in Game 7 if there is a Game 7.
And Game 8 and Game 9 and Game 10.
Well, if there was an 8, 9, 10. If there was an 8, 9, 10, then I may be reconsidering because I wouldn't want to lose my first place spot. But there's only 2 games left, and so I'll give myself a pat on the back when it comes to that. All right, so I'm going Pacers in 7. It may be naive and blind. Kevin, you got the Pacers losing in 6 games to OKC, correct?
Yeah, they're going to be popping bottles in Indiana.
And Jaevon, how about you?
It's going to be tough because Halliburton's not playing, so I don't know what it's going to look like. But, yeah, it's going to be pretty insane. I think the Halliburton injury does get into it, but I don't know for a fact. But I think OKC probably is going to win Game 6.
All right, and Uncle Larry says, wow, kids do read still. Yeah, we do. A little bit here and there. Sprinkle some reading here and there. And so that does it for our finals coverage. By the time that we speak to you all next week, an NBA champion will be crowned. But before we get to that point, it's time for one of our favorite recurring segments, and that is Shaun's Pop Quiz. NBA Finals Edition, guys, Part 3. We have had 3 consecutive weeks of NBA Finals Edition Shaun's Pop Quiz. And where we last left off, Kevin is in the lead with 22. Jaevon has 20. And as Kevin, for the audio-only listeners, just put on his chef's hat because he was cooking last week. And for those of you who may be new, this is Season 3 of Shaun's Pop Quiz. Kevin was the Season 1 winner. Jaevon won Season 2. And we only have 3 more episodes in Season 3. So, Jaevon, you still have a chance to make a comeback. But, Kevin, you're in the lead now. Let's see if you can hold on to it. So, starting out with our first question, we have one answer to this first question. And so, I have 3 questions for this week. And so, I'll give you each one. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I have 4 questions for this week. I gave all those stats earlier, but still could only cut it down to 4.
I want evens. I want 2 and 4.
All right, sounds good. So, Jaevon, you're going to take the first question then. All right, so the first question is, Tyrese Halliburton became the second guard with 30-plus minutes and 0 field goals in a finals game. Jaevon, who is the other point guard who has played, or the most recent one before Tyrese Halliburton, who's played at least 30 minutes and made 0 field goals in a finals game?
Tony Snell.
Tony Snell is not a guard, but that is incorrect. And
Damn
so,
it.
Are we going to guess this?
Yeah, that I think so. I think you should. It'll catch you off guard, but you should guess this. And I got a really good hint for this if you both don't guess it after twice.
Trying to think of point guards who've been there. Let's go with Gary Payton Jr.
No, that is incorrect. Jaevon, back to you. Tyrese Halliburton became the second guard in recent years to play at least 30 minutes and hit 0 field goals in a finals game. Who was the other guy, Jaevon?
Derek Fisher?
No, but we're getting closer. And Uncle Larry says Derek Harper. That is incorrect.
So it's old school.
Not that old school.
Let's go Grant Hill. Not Grant Hill, George Hill. Sorry.
I'll give you the pass on that. George Hill is incorrect, and Uncle Larry said he was joking. And so now, because I'm going to give a hint that I feel like will give it away, this is going to be a free-for-all. So you guys can just shout it out. The first person I hear to say it, they'll get the point. This other guard who has played at least 30 minutes in a finals game and had 0 field goals, Jaevon, Tony Parker is incorrect. This other guard is a current NBA head coach.
Steve Nash, no. Tyronn Lue? No.
Nope. Jaevon, you might want to unmute yourself. Otherwise, you might scream it. I might not hear you.
Kid? No, it wasn't Kid.
Who?
Jason Kidd?
Oh, I heard Kevin's. I'm sorry, Jaevon. I heard Kevin say it first. Kevin did say Kid, which prompted me to say who. And probably half a second before Jaevon said it, Kevin got it. And so Jason Kidd is the other guard who has played at least 30 minutes and scored 0 field goals. And
he must have had 1 million assists.
He must have. But the common thread between the two of them is that they were both coached by Rick Carlisle. And so, all right, so Kevin gets a point there. He now has 23 on the leaderboard to Jaevon's 20. Next question is, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander became the 4th player in NBA history to record at least 30 points, 10 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in a finals game. Who are the other 3 players? Kevin, you said you wanted the evens, so you get the first guess.
Well, like I said last week, there's only 2 guesses here, and I'm going to go with Michael Jordan.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. Michael Jordan was one of those 4 players. Jaevon, there are 2 other answers other than Michael Jordan or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm
going to go with the other one, LeBron James.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct.
Now
LeBron James. LeBron James is one of those 4. So we got
now
LeBron
Kevin's
James,
all the answers, guys.
Michael Jordan, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There's one other guy.
Kevin, what was the stat line? Can you say the stat line for one more time?
At least 30 points, 10 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in a finals game. Other than Jordan, LeBron, and SGA, who's the 4th guy, Kevin?
Joker don't get no steals. And Giannis don't get no assists. I'm going to go Joker.
That is incorrect, but a good guess. Jaevon, back to you.
Magic Johnson?
No, that is incorrect.
Damn.
Kevin, back to you before I give a hint. Nope, that is incorrect. Jaevon, back to you. Nope, that is incorrect. All right. Stop the presses. We are going to, same deal. We'll shout it out after I give the hint. This player did it within the last 5 years.
Steph Curry?
No, that is incorrect. And this is the free-for-all, so I'll just listen until I hear it. Nope.
That was not 5 years.
Yeah, Devin Booker was in the last 5 years.
Oh,
but that's not the answer.
Damn, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was the 2022 finals.
Jeez. It's the assist.
Jimmy Butler?
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. Jimmy Butler is the other guy who has done it.
Cool.
So Jaevon picks up a point. The score is now 24-22. So both of you have picked up 2 points this week. And so now we got 2 more questions. This one goes back to Jaevon first. Jaevon, there have been 3 players this century. So being since 2000, there have been 3 players who have had at least 25 points off the bench in the finals. Benedict Mathurin became the recent one to do so. There are 2 other guys who have scored at least 25 points off the bench in a finals game since 2000. Other than Benedict Mathurin, Jaevon, who is one of those other 2 guys?
Steven Jackson?
No, that is incorrect.
Damn.
Kevin,
Manu Ginobili?
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct.
Oh,
Manu Ginobili.
Go get it, go get it, go get it, go get it.
Manu Ginobili, Benedict Mathurin, and one other player, Jaevon, have scored at least 25 points off the bench since
He don't
2000.
He don't
Oh,
know. Just bring it back to me. He don't know.
off the bench. Jason Terry.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. I said it earlier, and he
Oh, James
remembered. So there you go.
James.
That was my guess.
All right, so Jaevon just picked up.
Wait,
the
what did
point.
James
It's
Harden?
now-
Okay. See, got you.
It's now 25-23.
Bro,
Last
the only
question.
reason why Kevin said Manu Ginobili is because I said Steven Jackson. It's the only reason why.
That's not true. I was only thinking about people who've won 6-man.
Oh, that's
I would have
fair.
guessed Lou Wood, but he never made the finals. So I was literally
Yeah.
thinking about people who've won 6-man.
And Jamal Crawford never made the finals.
Never made the finals. So it was
Yeah.
slim picking.
Yeah.
After James
All right.
Harden, I don't think I would have had a guess.
Last question. This one starts with Kevin. We got 4 answers to this. So Jaevon,
Kevin
if
Durant.
you can Jaevon, if you can get every answer here, then you can get a 2-point lead over Kevin. But right now, Kevin has the 2-point advantage at 25-23. Last question for NBA Finals Edition Part 3. For the audio-only listeners, I'm laughing so much because Kevin just dabbed like 5 times. Anyways, all right, Kevin, we're starting off with you. Pascal Siakam became one of 5 players with at least 25, 5, and 5 in a finals
hate it
game
here.
this century. So
Why
since
does Kevin get
2000,
all these questions, bro?
well, if he gets one answer, Jaevon, it goes to you next. And so, anyways, Jaevon, next week you can have the even questions if I have 4 questions, but I don't know how many questions I'll have next week. Anyways, so yes, Kevin. So since 2000, there have been 5 players other than Pascal Siakam is one of 5 players to record at least 25, 5, and 5 in a finals game this century. Kevin, who is one of those other 4?
LeBron James.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. LeBron James is on that list. All right, Jaevon, over to you
Michael
now.
Jordan.
There's 3 other guys. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I meant to
I didn't hear
say
you.
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. That is incorrect.
Haha.
Well, Uncle Larry guessed Durant as well. All right,
Nikola
Kevin, back to you.
Jokic.
Nope, that is incorrect.
What?
All right, Jaevon, back to you, Mr. Toddy. You got 3 more answers on the board. Other than LeBron and Pascal Siakam, there have been 3 other players to record 25, 5, and 5 in a finals game since 2000.
Kobe Bryant.
No, that is incorrect, but you're tiptoeing around.
Shit.
Kevin,
Oh,
back to you. 3 other answers.
Luka Doncic?
No, that is incorrect. Jaevon, back to you before I give a hint.
Jason Tatum.
No, that is incorrect, but you're tiptoeing around again.
What are the 5 and did the 5 and 5 have to be rebounds and assists, or the 5 and 5 just 5 and 5?
To be honest, I'm reading this off of StatMuse, and it just says 20/5/5/5. I'm assuming it's 5 assists, 5 rebounds, and probably 5 steals would be my guess. And so the hint, so we got LeBron, we got Pascal Siakam on this list. Both of those guys accomplished this when they were on an Eastern Conference team. The other 3 all were in the Eastern Conference as well. So forget about anyone who played in the West.
Oh,
These other 3
I guess.
Jaevon, I'm going to toss it back to you because you asked a legitimate question, but Kevin did just say one of them. Jimmy Butler is correct. So Kevin now has 27. Jaevon has 23. Jaevon, back to you before we do. As Jaevon just threw something at his screen. So there are 2 other answers, Jaevon, other than LeBron, Jimmy Butler, and Pascal Siakam. There are 2 other Eastern Conference players who have recorded at least 25, 5, and 5 in the finals this century.
Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard is incorrect, but that's a good guess.
Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown is also incorrect. Now it's
Allen
just
Iverson.
a free throw. Allen Iverson, ding, ding, ding. That is correct. So Jaevon gets another point.
Michael Jordan.
24. Michael Jordan is incorrect, Kevin. You got to remember.
Yeah,
I already said
it's-
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I already said Michael Jordan.
Giannis.
No, Giannis is incorrect.
Eastern Conference.
So okay, I'll give one more hint. This last player is a former All-Star, a great player. He's a point guard, but you guys may not. Jason Kidd is incorrect. Damn. You guys may not get this one. It's a very prominent guy that we all know, but you may not get this one.
Penny Hardaway?
No, that is incorrect. Keep shouting it out. Final answer.
Isaiah Thomas?
Damn.
No, that is incorrect. Okay. I'm gonna give one more hint here. Just because Kevin just said, I'm sorry, Jaevon, what did you say?
You said 2000s?
Yes, since 2000. This is since the year 2000.
Okay,
so
yeah.
LeBron, Kevin just took off the chef's hat, so I guess he's not cooking anymore. But LeBron, AI, Jimmy Butler, Pascal Siakam have all recorded 25, 5, and 5 in a finals game this century. This other player is a point guard who played in the East. This point guard, it's not Isaiah Thomas, but this point guard also is a former Sacramento King.
The hell?
Jason Williams?
Nope.
Jason Williams? Damn.
Nope. Do we give up?
Hold on. Is he a recent Kings player or is he an old Kings player?
About 10 years ago.
I give up.
All right, Jaevon, you give up?
Wow, this one has me stumped.
Yeah, I to be honest, I wouldn't get this one myself. But once you guys hear it, you'll be like, oh shit.
I don't know.
Who? Okay. All right. Last hint. This guy was the fourth wheel of the Boston Big Three.
Ray Allen?
Rajon Rondo. Bam!
Damn it.
Bam!
Damn it, Jaevon. That was your hint right there, Jaevon. Rajon Rondo is correct. So there you go. So Kevin gets another point. Kevin has increased his lead this week from 2 to 4, as the leaderboard now says Kevin 28, Jaevon 24.
Rondo is kind of crazy.
3 episodes remaining. Yeah, Rondo did it.
Not one, not two,
2008
not three.
or 2010. And so that does it for Shaun's Pop Quiz this week. Thank you guys for participating as always. I appreciate you. And now we shall move on to 2 more segments for this week's episode number 148, Stats Over Politics. Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. Guys, we got a basketball exclusive episode, and it's time to get to a big trade in the NBA as the Memphis Grizzlies traded Desmond Bane for what was quite the haul, as the Grizzlies traded Desmond Bane to the Magic for KCP, a.k.a. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, 4, count it, 1, 2, 3, 4 unprotected first-round picks and 1 first-round pick swap. And so, Jaevon, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think about this trade?
I thought the Magic gave up a lot to get him. 4 unprotected first-round picks is a little insane for Desmond Bane. And usually when you get into the 3, the 4-round picks, these are all NBA-type players, with the exception of the Rudy Gobert trade. He was a defensive player of the year, but still 5 first-round picks for that was insane. I think the Magic are desperate for another guy that's not necessarily an all-star-ish. He's like borderline all-star in that realm. Not really an all-NBA guy, but he's in that realm of like, I need another guy that can score. Because if you look at it, it was kind of just Paulo, and then you were kind of hoping Franz had almost a 40-point game in the playoffs against us. So he's another guy that can definitely create for you offensively. Desmond Bane, however, is another guy that can create for himself, score off the dribble, can be a consistent 3-point shooter. I think he is another guy in that they kind of have their own mini big 3, if that makes sense. That's what Orlando's kind of looking at it like. We have 3 guys that can go for 25 at any given point in time. They can in the playoffs combine for 90 odd points. That's a possibility for them, and then kind of rely on other scorers other players off the bench to kind of contribute. But they needed another guy that can score, and scoring is what they lack. I thought they were going to go after a guy like Anthony Simons, a guy who's another guy like I saw they were like Jordan Poole, but I think Desmond Bane's a really solid, like, this is a good fit for him. I think it works. I saw he's from Orlando too, so it's kind of match made for him. But Orlando kind of just need another guy, score, go out there and get a bucket. And I think both sides are happy. Memphis got four first round picks. Now it's going to be at the back end of the draft pretty much every year. And they also ended up getting Cole Anthony as well too. So I think both sides are happy. I just think that Orlando gave a little bit too much to go out and get him.
Kevin, what are your thoughts on this deal? Because my reaction was similar to Jaevon, where 4 first-round picks, everyone talks about, oh my God, Luka went for 1 plus Anthony Davis. And Desmond Bane is going for 4. Mikal Bridges went for like 5. And Rudy Gobert, as we know, went for too much. And so before I get your thoughts on this, I just wanted to share mine real quickly, is that I feel like Desmond Bane could end up being a great fit, as Jaevon was saying, for the Magic. But unless this guy is going to put you over the hump to win a championship, which I don't know if Desmond Bane is going to do that, seems like a lot to give up, in my opinion. But what's yours, Kevin?
This trade was when you think of the 4 for unprotected first-round picks, like Toddy said, Shaun said, you're thinking about Rudy Gobert for 5, Mikal Bridges, Luka Doncic went for 1. What you guys aren't really getting is they really only traded 2 first-round picks for Desmond Bane, and they traded 2 first-round picks to take $42 million contract of KCP. So you got to take a lot of that on the chin. If KCP wasn't in the mix, I think 2 firsts probably would have sufficed. But because you have to take on such a huge contract for a 33-year-old, you got to take that with a grain of salt. The Orlando Magic signed KCP off of their championship run in Denver because they thought he was going to be able to continue that narrative, continue pushing what he was doing in Denver. And it just didn't work out. You can say he's getting older, just didn't fit the offense. This team statistically was the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA last year. And for them to go 41-41, make it into the finals and lose in the first round. They went through the play-in, I believe. Yeah, they went through the play-in. And to lose to the Celtics, with Jason Tatum going down, the East is wide open. The Knicks have their problems. The Pacers have their problems. The Cavs have their problems. Bringing in a guy like Desmond Bane really elevates this team. And you got to keep Jalen Suggs. You got to keep Anthony Black. You got to keep Maurice Wagner, Franz Wagner. You're never trading Paolo. But to bring him into this young core, now him, Franz, Jalen Suggs, and Paolo, yes, they're taking majority of the money, but they're all signed long-term. We saw how good of a defender Jalen Suggs was with him out this year. Really hurt them. So to really hope that all 4 of them are going to be healthy, Desmond Bane, this addition is going to work very well. Like I said, the East is wide open, and they're saying those, like Toddy said, those picks are going to be towards the late end of the first round anyways. So those picks, high likely, are not going to be getting you a good player anyway, so you might as well go all in on this opportunity. I would have preferred them to go get another point guard, like a LaMelo Ball, Anthony Simons, Trae Young. Like, there's a lot of guys, even a John Moran, like they could have went in and really went in for a guy like that. But Desmond Bane is a career 40%, I see him, 40% three-point shooter. So having a guy like that to kick to after being the team that shot the worst from 3 all in the NBA last season goes a long way. So, Toddy, what you got to say?
Desmond Bane went for 4 first-round picks. What does a LaMelo Ball, trade, what does that trade look like? If Desmond Bane went for 4, what is LaMelo?
Well, let me interject on that, because I feel like Kevin made an extremely good point that I never even thought about. Is you think about, okay, Desmond Bane for 2 first-round picks, but getting rid of that KCP contract is another 2 first-round picks. And so to follow up with your question, Jaevon, if KCP is still a member of the Orlando Magic, and I don't know if they make that work salary cap wise, if they're adding a guy of that caliber and then keeping KCP. But that's a very important caveat that Kevin pointed out.
To go get a LaMelo Ball, it probably would have taken 5 because he's a younger guy. You're not getting him. He doesn't play that many games, and you got to pay him. So probably 5. Trae Young, 5. But to get a guy like that, you're going to have to offload because you're going to have to offload KCP. You can't bring in another max contract guy and have a guy that's sitting on the bottom, sitting at the back of your bench making $45 million. That's just not a good business move. So, yes, you look at it and you say, oh, well, if Desmond Bane went for 4, KD's going for 7. You guys got to look at it as half of that trade was for them to say, please take this contract. And the other side of the coin is, are the Memphis Grizzlies going to extend Jaren Jackson and Ja, or are they going to ship wholesale? Everything must go. So they got a new coach. You obviously saw that the new system didn't really benefit Desmond Bane or Ja Morant. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they move going forward. Because, I mean, you can trade Jaren Jackson and Ja Morant and get another haul of picks. And maybe take the OKC route. I mean, the NBA is a copycat league. You're seeing the Indiana Pacers, I know Shaun's going to hate this, doing this with no superstars, not even an all-star on their team, and they're in the NBA Finals. So do you need a guy like that to carry you over the hump? As Shaun left for the audio-only listeners, Toddy's muted, but he's laughing hysterically. So the NBA is different. It's a copycat league. So now it's kind of seeing if they can do it, why can't we? So the East is completely open. So I think
the Magic could beat the Pacers. The Magic, like if we got matched up against the Pacers,
this year without Desmond Bane or with Desmond Bane?
I'm saying like with Desmond Bane.
With Desmond Bane, I would take the Magic in a series.
Better question. And yes, I had to leave very briefly. I was still sitting in the waiting room, but I just had to be dramatic. Could not handle the Tyrese Halliburton disrespect. It's just too much this episode. But better question, though, and I'll pose this to Jaevon first. We think about who the Magic played in the first round of these year's playoffs. Boston Celtics. Would the Magic, now as presently constructed with Desmond Bane, have beaten the reigning champion Celtics in the first round?
Hell no.
They took one game.
Hell no.
Because Paulo and Franz went off.
Yeah. And now they got Desmond to sit in the corner and shoot threes.
I mean, if Jason Tatum doesn't go down, they don't make this trade. Now, if you're telling me the Celtics without Jason Tatum play the Magic, I'm taking the Magic.
We taking the year off.
Yeah, well, and to that same point, Kevin, I've seen a lot of people wondering. We haven't even talked about Kevin Durant, but it's just all speculation right now. The trade could happen by next week, and then we'll talk about it in full. But for the sake of time, we're not talking about Kevin Durant rumors right now.
When is Game 6?
Believe Game 6 is on.
Game 6 tomorrow? So about 12 hours after the finals, they're going to announce the KD trade.
Well, even to that point, when Shams was on ESPN's Hoop Streams broadcast yesterday before the game, and Hoop Streams is basically just like their social media broadcast, and it was Amon Shumpert who said, I believe the Spurs are the best fit and destination.
He was like looking at like,
and for Kevin Durant. And Shams, you see Shams is like,
Shout out to the Sacramento Kings. You built the fucking dynasty.
Yeah, as Jaevon shows the windy fingers.
I know we're talking about Desmond Bane trading, but I want to kind of sprinkle on the Kevin Durant chain. Could you imagine if Kevin Durant goes to the Spurs and the Spurs keep the number 2 overall pick?
They will.
I don't want to. I don't want to think about that world.
You know what they're going to give them? The Hawks picks that we should have fucking took.
Yeah, well,
they're going to give them
Zach LaVine and a Hornets lottery protected pick.
They're going to give them. They're going to give them the Hawks picks. They're probably going to give them Sohan,
Devin Vassell, Hawks. Oh, Devin Vassell was called mid in the group chat. I'm not going to say who said it.
It was me. It was me. It was me. I'll own that. Yeah. Kevin said I was having too many drinks in Mexico. I stand by that take. He's mid. Anyways, the reason why I mentioned Kevin Durant in the first place is his rumored destinations are the Rockets, the Spurs, the
I
Heat.
think the Heat were in there. Yeah.
The two Texans and the Heat.
Exactly. And so the reason why I mentioned that is I've seen a lot of people speculating, like, why would Kevin Durant want to go to the Heat? And it's to the point that Kevin mentioned earlier where the East is much more wide open with Jason Tatum out next season. And who knows how long it's going to take him to come back the following season and return to form. And so that's got to be why the Magic said we're going all in on this. And the New York Knicks, they're going to be in that conversation. The Cavs will be back. The Pacers are going to try to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals for a third straight year. And so this is a really interesting trade. I'm not necessarily going to criticize it too much because I do feel like Bane will be a great fit, but it was a lot to give up for a guy like Desmond Bane, who, if I remember correctly, hasn't even made an all-star team in his career. And so we shall see, but my overreaction to this is they gave up too much. If they end up making it to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, then I think that they've proven us wrong, or at least proven me wrong. We shall see, and we will continue to talk about it here on Stats Over Politics. But before we get out of here, for episode number 148, Kevin, we have another one of our favorite recurring segments to get us out of here.
Indeed. It's been a long time since we've had a this or that. So, you know, this man, I mentioned him earlier in the episode, breaking barriers, becoming one of the best second options in the NBA. So I figured, why not do a this or that Jalen Williams edition? Toddy, you're muted. I need you to be unmuted for this. So we have this or that Jalen Williams. First name up, Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown.
I'm taking Jalen Williams.
Of course.
Next name, James Harden.
Right now?
Yeah.
Jalen Williams.
I'm taking Jalen Williams.
Yeah. He's saying right now.
Yeah. I'll take Jalen Williams because I'd rather have 10 more years of Jalen Williams than 3 more.
Kill you.
Next name, Kyrie Irving.
Oh, right now.
Well, Kyrie Irving is hurt, so give me Jalen Williams.
Kevin knows you guys know that I'm a Kyrie guy.
One of the biggest Kyrie stands I know.
I am a Kyrie guy. I'm on principle. I'm picking Kyrie Irving.
Next name, Lloyd Marketing.
Oh, Jalen Williams. This is not.
Oh, come on!
This is not even
on principle. I'm going with the finisher, my countryman, Lowry Marketing.
Yeah.
Next name, Tyrese Maxey.
Oh.
Give me J-Dub. He's a defender, one of two guys to make an All-NBA team and All-Defensive team.
He signed an extension too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maxey already signed an extension. Is Jalen Williams getting the same extension?
No, he's getting more.
He's getting more?
Yeah. He made All-Defensive.
Because, didn't Maxey make All-NBA?
No.
I don't think so. Well, Kevin, you just convinced me right there. Give me Jalen Williams.
I could have swore he made All-NBA.
Hell no.
Maxey is
That's not
kind of the number one option on a team. Jalen Williams is the number 2 to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Well, I mean, is Maxey really the number one option? I guess when Embiid isn't there.
Embiid don't play.
Yeah.
So who you taking, Toddy?
I'm probably going to take Jalen Williams, but it's way closer than. I would like to. If the roles were reversed, it would be similar. I'll say that. But Kevin does make a great point. Jalen Williams does play defense, and he just had 40 in the finals game. So, yeah.
Kind of important.
Next name, Jimmy Butler.
Jalen Williams. He's younger.
Jalen Williams.
He's not making that money.
For the same reason that I chose Jalen Williams over James Harden. It's just I'd rather have Jalen Williams for the next 10 to 15 years.
Jimmy's 36.
3 to 5 years, yeah.
Next name, De'Aaron Fox.
Ooh.
De'Aaron Fox. Don't make me go get my jersey. De'Aaron Fox. If this was a longer segment, I'd go get my jersey right now.
Well, how much in his first playoff game? How much did he have? Was it 40 or was it 50?
38, I think.
38.
I'm taking
39. It was 39. It was 39.
I am taking Jalen Williams over De'Aaron Fox.
I'll take J-Dub.
Oh,
last name, Tyrese Halliburton.
J-Dub.
J-Dub.
Tyrese Halliburton, the second best player in this series.
He's scoring 4 points in a game.
He has a right calf strain.
Free throws.
This is
Talk to me when Jalen Williams has a right calf strain and plays through it.
oh.
And
Damn.
that will do it for this or that Jalen Williams edition.
Some of these things are a little bit skewed too because J-Dub is not the number one option on the team.
I'll take number 2 over number 1, De'Aaron Fox.
What is a number one De'Aaron Fox? We've seen what
We've seen what number 1 De'Aaron Fox is like.
Playoffs ish.
Yeah.
Playoffs ish. What does it look like when J-Dub's the number one option? That's what I want to say.
Yeah, and one thing that I wanted to add in this same discussion regarding De'Aaron Fox is I saw Matt George of ABC 10 in Sacramento tweet this out this past week, and I felt like it was a really good point. Apparently, there's rumors that the Spurs might trade De'Aaron Fox.
They're definitely trading De'Aaron Fox.
How can you have Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox on the exact same team? They do the exact same thing, and they're both left-handed.
And one's cheaper.
One is cheaper.
This is how it goes. They're either going to say, De'Aaron Fox, go to the open market. No one's giving you max money. Come back on a cheaper deal. Play for us.
Wait, is De'Aaron a free agent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
He will be.
That's why he wanted out the hell out of sack.
Hold on. Wait. Coming up when the finals are over and free agents start, he's a free agent.
Oh, I thought he had one more year.
Oh, that changes everything. He could go.
That's why he left Sacks. He didn't want to sign the extension.
I thought he had a year and a half left.
So it's like, do you lose him for nothing and bring in Dylan Harper, or do you bring him in to be a 6-man?
Well, it's not like they gave up very much, so they'll just be cutting their losses.
Fucking Sacramento Kings.
Well, and to that same point from the Matt George tweet is he said, I don't know what would be more painful. Watching De'Aaron Fox play on a dynasty with the Spurs or watching the Spurs immediately trade him and get a way better return than the Kings did. What, Kevin, for you as a Kings fan, what would you think Dylan Harper him on a dynasty?
Well, they can't trade him because he's not on a contract unless they did a sign and trade.
And I think that's what he was implying.
Do you think Dylan Harper will?
To hell with him. I prefer he get fucking traded to Utah.
Jaevon, to answer your question, I'm gonna say
Dylan Harper
no.
be better than De'Aaron Fox?
Yes.
Well, can he? Yes. Will he? De'Aaron's made one All-NBA team and one All-Star team.
I say the bar's not set very high, and he's probably 3-4 inches taller than De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
He is 6'7". He is
probably. I love De'Aaron.
Unfortunately, bro, I think De'Aaron's best days are behind him.
Well,
I hate to say this because I'm a Kings fan.
He's hurt too.
But if they don't have the 65 game rule, he doesn't make an All-Star game that year. Or an All-NBA team.
Kevin,
that was the very first year of the bar. And
Kevin,
if that bar's not set,
Kevin's cooking on episode
he
number
done put himself on TikTok by accident.
The hell with De'Aaron Fox.
Oh man.
You're hurting Sean's feelings right now.
Yeah. Talking shit about Tyrese Halliburton all episode, the De'Aaron Fox slander at the end. I'm a Kings fan who stands by the players after they get traded because it's not necessarily their fault that they got traded.
It was De'Aaron Fox's fault he got traded.
Okay, and that's why Mike Brown is still the head coach of the Kings, right?
You could have stayed.
You're cooking.
He chose to leave. Mike Brown got kicked out the door.
If you had a revolving door of head coaches
you about to get the
your entire career, you finally find one that works, not just for you selfishly, but breaks a freaking NBA record for the longest playoff drought ever. And they say, not good enough. I stand by De'Aaron Fox forever, and I'll die on that hill. And Jaevon,
to hell with him. To hell with you, De'Aaron. You left us with Zach LaVine. You're a senior citizen home.
I recently reorganized all the different overlays that we have here on the StreamYard panel, and I put all the memes at the top. So The one on the very top is Drewski, and then another Jaevon classic, Shrek. But this is how I feel right now throughout this episode, constantly trying to defend Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox. No, not the choking meme, but I feel like Arthur. Hiding, covering up. All right, I stand by Tyrese and De'Aaron.
Just imagine if you would have got that Hawks pick and the Kings had the number 2 overall pick. Then who's De'Aaron Fox? Who's Tyrese Halliburton? Because we have fucking Derek Harper.
I mean, I still would be rooting for both guys, but I
just don't think Shaun realized how good Dylan Harper is. Maybe that's what it is.
It's not even that it's going to be
Summer League.
Yeah, it's the fact that you're going to have to pay De'Aaron Fox north of $35-40 a year when you got 4 years of a rookie contract, Dylan Harper.
Yeah, I mean,
that just means that he could go to like a Minnesota, make them better.
Who, De'Aaron Fox?
Yeah.
Boo, tomato.
Hey, well, Kevin Durant doesn't want to play alongside Anthony Edwards. Maybe De'Aaron Fox would. And Jaevon, to be fair, just full transparency, I don't watch much Rutgers basketball, so
me and Kevin gambled on them several
under
times.
500.
They weren't that good. They weren't that good, yeah. But they was putting in work.
I don't understand how you have 2 top 10 picks, and the reason why I say top 10 is Ace Bailey. His draft stock's kind of fallen just because he's top 5. Yeah, but I mean, the latest projection I saw is Ace Bailey goes 6, and so. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he is refusing to work out for a lot of teams. And so
Knipple better than him, Kev?
Oh my God. That was what I saw too. Is Knipple was projected to go 4.
5, 4 or 5, yeah.
Go 6. I was like, yo, is he no.
Well, Knipple's a 3-and-D guard. You can use those forever. Ace Bailey ain't a 3-and-D nothing. He's a superstar. Give me the rock and I'm putting it up. I'm not a role player. That's why he didn't want to work with the Sixers. He doesn't want to go and be a role player.
Kevin,
he would be a role player with the Sixers because they got too many guys making so much money, and he's just there.
But I mean, it'd be great for him to learn behind Paul George. But I get it.
Kevin, what's the nickname of Reed Blankenship and Cooper Jean?
Exciting Whites.
Yeah, that's Knipple right there. Add him to the exciting whites. All right. With that, we're going to get out of here for episode number 148. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. If you enjoy the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on X at Stats or Politics. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you guys have been tuned into episode number 148 of Stats Over Politics, for my guys, Jaevon Toddy, Kevin Dent, Kaz Johnson, and Alex Dent, I'm your host, Shaun Holgo. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week on another episode of Stats Over Politics. Peace.